Before this video starts, I just want to give a huge shout out to Ben Askren, who's having an amazing recovery from an intense battle against pneumonia. Please, if you can take the time out of your day to give him some form of support, it will go a long way. I really hope Ben can continue his road to recovery and be as close to a normal life as possible. I'm really happy to see him up and talking again. Now, on to the picks and predictions video. And we're back to another UFC predictions video. Sorry for not having a face cam. I'm just not able to do it. A lot of moving around, a lot of moving parts. But I'm here for the UFC picks and predictions for Derrick Lewis versus Tallison Teixeira. Let's get straight into the picks. Not gonna waste too much time on the first two fights because there is no value in it whatsoever. First fight of the night is gonna be at the strawweight division where we have Fatima Klein set to face off against Melissa Martinez, and I think Fatima is a much better fighter everywhere the fight goes. Melissa had one fight in the UFC against Elise Ardeline, who is not really UFC caliber in my opinion, and she did not look like a world beater by any means. She definitely didn't look as good as Fatima Klein did in her fight at the UFC level. So I got Fatima winning a dominant decision here, but no bet because Klein could get a finish here with a massive skill gap between herself and Melissa. Next up, we're going to the welterweight division where we have Mike Beast Boy Davis set to face off against Mitch Ramirez, and I got Mike Davis getting this one done. He is a much better fighter in my opinion. Didn't look good in his last fight. He was very tentative and didn't really want to press the action, but he is skilled enough to get the victory here. All of Ramirez's losses come by way of KO, TKO, and most of Mike Davis's wins come by that way as well. So I got Mike Davis getting the KO, but no bet on the fight. On to the heavyweights where we have Kennedy and Nzechukwu set to face off against Valter Walker. And I have been a Valter Walker hater because I really don't think he's a good fighter by any means. However, at the heavyweight division, he's proven to have good skills when the fight goes to the ground. If not, he's been proven to be a punching bag. I like the side of Kennedy here. I think Kennedy is hard to take down. If he trains properly for the stylistic matchup, he should know exactly what Valter Walker is trying to do. He should be able to stop the takedowns, keep the fight standing, land heavy blows on the feet, and I think he gets a TKO finish. No bet on the fight because the juice is not quite worth the squeeze. Next up, we're going to the flyweight division between Lauren Murphy and Eduarda Moura. The pick is obvious for me. I think Moura wins against a 41-year-old Lauren. Lauren had only been finished once in her MMA career against the GOAT at 125, Valentina Shevchenko. However, I think Moura can get the fight to the ground, land some heavy shots, open Lauren up for a submission, and get the job done there. A bet that I got for this one is Moura to win inside the distance. If I gotta pick one, I would pick sub, but the KO is also live here. So the odds are far too good for me to not risk it. Pick is gonna be Moura to win by sub, and bet is gonna be Moura to win inside the distance. Next up, it's a battle of the welterweights where we have Jake Matthews set to face off against Chidi Njokuani, and this is quite simple. Fight goes to the ground, it goes to Jake, and if the fight stays on the feet, it goes to Chidi. Chidi has some good takedown defense at 75% at the UFC level, while Jake Matthews have a 41% takedown accuracy. Chidi has a way longer frame and a 7-inch reach advantage, and as you've probably seen in a lot of the fights recently, long fighters are hard to take down. I think Chidi's takedown defense holds up enough for him to get the victory. I think he wins a decision with a striking bout. Placing a bet on Chidi Njokuani to win, moneyline. On to the welterweights again, where we have Chris Curtis set to face off against Max Payne Griffin. I like the side of Chris Curtis here. I think he's a much more skilled fighter. Even though he's stepping down a weight class and coming off a KO loss, his boxing is really, really clean. The worry for me is the output, but I think based off his last fight against Roman Kopylov, he looked to have high output. I think he lands some really heavy shots on Max Payne Griffin. He makes Max a lot more tentative and wins a unanimous decision. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Max. Max has been proven to be very durable, so a points fight is the way I see this one going. Next up, we're going to the light heavyweight division where we have Junior Tafa set to face off against Tuco Tokkos, and I like the side of Junior Tafa for this one. I think he KOs Tuco. Tuco did look okay for a couple minutes of the fight against Navajo Sterling, but Junior Tafa, he just packs way too much power, and I think he puts Tuco Tokkos out. So Junior Tafa to win by KO, placing a bet on Junior Tafa to win. Next up, we're going to the heavyweight division where we have Vitor Petrino moving up a weight class to face Austen Lane, and the UFC knows exactly what they're going to do here. Vitor Petrino is getting a layup in this division. I think he finishes Austen Lane inside the distance, dominates him for as long as the fights last. I think Vitor Petrino wins by KO, but no bet on it because the juice is not quite worth the squeeze. On to the featherweights where we have Nate Landwehr set to face off against Morgan Charriere. Nate Landwehr got absolutely dominated from pillar to post, but so did Morgan Charriere in their last fight. The difference, Morgan got dominated to decision and Nate got dominated to a finish, where Doo Ho Choi just put the work on him. I think Morgan Charriere is better everywhere the fight goes. I think he's a much more crisp striker. What he needs to avoid is staying away from them brawls that Nate Landwehr likes to indulge. If he does that and keeps it a technical battle, he wins every single day of the week. I think Morgan Charriere gets the job done here by decision. No bet on that fight. Next up, we're going back to the featherweights where we have Calvin Kattar set to face off against Steve Garcia. And a lot of people like to side up Steve Garcia here. Steve Garcia has been on a tear, getting KO after KO after KO. He has a lot of power in those hands. However, Calvin Kattar has proven to be very durable, and he's also very hard to hit clean. Unless you're Max Holloway, of course. But Calvin Kattar has proven to have very, very good boxing, very good striking. As a matter of fact, I think he does enough to get a decision here. I think he pulls off the upset. Steve Garcia, he got put out real badly against Mahachete. And Mahachete is not the greatest that the division has to offer. I think the skill gap between Calvin Kattar and Steve Garcia's previous opponents is way too different. I think it's too much of a step up in competition, and Calvin Kattar gets the job done here by decision. On to the welterweights where we have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson set to face off against Gabriel Bonfim. And if you're a Gabriel Bonfim fan, you're probably going to be pulling your teeth out for this one, because Stephen Thompson, even though he's been dominated by wrestlers, Gabriel Bonfim doesn't have the best takedowns. He's going to struggle. He's going to struggle in this fight, especially if it stays standing. I think Stephen Thompson is going to land a lot more strikes than Gabriel, and Gabriel is going to have to rely heavily on getting that submission, because I don't think he's able to control Stephen Thompson long enough. And I don't think he's going to be able to ground and pound his way to a victory. I'm favoring the underdog here. Not going to be placing a bet on him winning, but definitely going to be placing a bet on him landing more significant strikes. If Gabriel was to win as a heavy favorite, it's going to be because he got a submission early. So yeah, Stephen Thompson to win is the pick, but the play is Stephen Thompson to land more significant strikes. Now on to the main event of the evening. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis set to face off against the up-and-coming Tallison Teixeira. And I did a lot of research on this fight, but there's only so much you can do when you got knockout artists set to face off against one another. The problem for Derrick Lewis is against fighters who have a lot of knockout power. He has absolutely struggled, and that's why I think Tallison Teixeira, as a heavy favorite, wins this fight dominantly, gets an early finish, skyrocketing him up in the heavyweight division. I think Teixeira wins by KO. The bet is gonna be Teixeira to win inside the distance and land more significant strikes. This has been my picks and predictions video for UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Teixeira. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like. Let me know what you think of it down below. Subscribe, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Twitter, support the channel on the Patreon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.